I'm going to take a brief moment to talk about corruption since we're in the wake of this thing with this TikTok ban. I'm writing a book about what this Congress has been doing. Corruption, as defined by Wikipedia, corruption is a form of dishonesty or criminal offense which is undertaken by a person or an organization which is entrusted in a position of authority in order to acquire illicit benefits or abuse power for one's personal gain. Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines treason as a betrayal of a trust, treachery, the crime of attempting to overthrow the government of one's country or of attempting to kill or injure the ruler or the ruler's family. Domestic terrorism is defined on Google as the committing of terrorist acts in the perpetrator's own country against their fellow citizens. According to the United States Government Accountability Office, GAO, that's the federal government, domestic terrorism is generally defined by law as involving criminal acts dangerous to human life on U.S. soil that appear intended to coerce a civilian population or influence or affect the conduct of government. Now, we can assume that politicians are going to affect the conduct of government, but other than that, what I'm saying is that we have domestic terrorists in our Congress right now. There is a domestic terrorist organization that is seated in Congress, and unfortunately, they're also in the head of the FBI, and they're also running our Supreme Court. Like, I'm chasing these people all around on this paper trail trying to figure out exactly what the fuck is going on. But I'm telling you that right now, there's a domestic terrorist organization within our federal government. You see, the thing is that you would expect that after a worldwide and national travesty like we just had with the COVID-19 pandemic, that the government should be trying to assist the people and recover the economy and trying to help people. But if anybody else has not noticed yet, that is not what they have been doing. So for anybody who's had trouble receiving food stamps, Social Security, unemployment, veterans, disability benefits, as well as active serving military members who have had to live in mold-infested barracks. Any immigrants attempting to apply for their renewal of their visa or for their visa, anybody attempting to receive FOIA backlogs. The list goes on and on. In case any of you haven't noticed that our government has not been really necessarily providing these services as they should be, yes, people are still getting some of these services. However, what's happening, like what happened to me, I broke my foot. I tried to get unemployment. Instead of getting unemployment, I got financially destitute as a result of not being able to receive my unemployment in November, almost 2023, November of 2022. I got robbed by this government. I have this whole year's worth of bills. I have had 3 years of my life stolen as a result of this. And I'm not the only one. And because of situations like this where the government's revoking aid from our own civilians that we have been paying taxes into, to include Social Security, they've been making children go hungry by not giving out food stamps. We all know that women are not making fair wages in this country, and what I'm saying is that what I'm witnessing is an attack on marginalized groups, women, our veterans. So, anybody who took an oath to the Constitution should be paying attention to what's going on in our political offices and this whole thing with the TikTok ban. And we need to start thinking about how we're going to handle the problem that we have with Congress, where there's literally thousands of people pumping through the federal office of Congress to cash in off of lobbyist money. and suck the planet dry, destroying entire ecosystems and entire nations to funnel the money into a few billionaires. There needs to be a system of accountability for these people. And they need to be held criminally liable, because right now the United States Congress is just the greatest place to go when you are getting old in your career and you want to cash in. These are career politicians. They hop from office to office to office. And if you haven't noticed yet, they're initiating an attack on the American people. So whoever this is, domestic or not, it is a national security threat. At the end of the day, the political ruckus that you guys are all witnessing, what it is a national security threat. It means that we're not safe. Somebody is inside of our federal offices, and we're seeing not just the United States Congress, but various members of a handful of states being told what to do by some man behind the curtain, and I would really like to know who that individual and group of individuals is that's giving these orders to encourage these people to systematically dismantle the system of law of the United States, as well as attack our military. There is no reason why our tax funds should not be accounted for appropriately, and why we shouldn't have basic metric standards in place. You see, the backlogs with the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act requests, letting those accumulate a massive backlog just means that they're able to continue to hide what they're doing. So as long as they can continue to dink around on being responsible because nobody's holding them accountable, this is going to continue. But I am telling you that, yes, this is an assault on the American people by a terrorist threat that is a national security threat. We are being sucked dry financially. And I know that I, as well as probably a lot of other people, as a result of being broke as hell because of what these people are doing, systematically dismantling our government, have come over to TikTok to try and be able to do something to make enough money to live. So what I see going on is that the victims of this crime that has taken place with these people trying to engage in mass scale fraud through our government agencies, the victims of that are trying to find a way to survive on this app. There's a means for income for those people on here. So, of course, they're trying to take it away, but we really need to think about why it is that the United States government is attacking its own people. Because by definition, that is treason, that is domestic terrorism, and it is by definition corruption. So I want to be clear in that. I want to make sure that's understood. I have a lot of writing to do. I have a lot of responsibilities. I'm trying to clean up a damn mess over here. I'm trying to get this done as quickly as possible. But this is not fun, what I'm going through. I'm trying to work a full-time job, go to fucking school, and write a book, and try to figure out how to clean up my business and get it running again. Because my business got shut down by the government interfering with my finances by encouraging criminal activity in business. If anybody wants to look at an article titled "Wearing Out the Watchdog," you'll see that the SEC has just been throwing out fraud cases and not investigating them. The EEOC has also been doing that. I experienced that with my Department of Labor. So when you file a complaint against a business that's doing illegal stuff, they don't get investigated. And that's what's going on here. I got a little bit more I want to say on that. In China saw an economic boom around 1978. GDP growth averaged over 9% a year. They saw rapid expansion in their economy, and I'm not saying that this is a good thing. I'm just trying to give you an idea of where I think this is going. We all know that China has some pretty poor labor standards, and that people are living in abhorrent conditions as a result of that. China has been recently making efforts to try and improve things for their citizenry, but they saw rapid expansion on the backs of people who were practically being treated like slaves. Sweatshops is the modern slavery. And it is still a problem that happens across the world today. So, if you make people so desperate to try and survive that they'll do anything, they're going to take what options are around. And they'll be more willing to be dehumanized and live under such conditions. Now, the pandemic happened, and I've been watching these politicians for a very long time, and I remember a specific congressional hearing where I heard the words, "We need to engage in economic warfare against China." Why is that? I'm sorry, I understand China's got some problems. I don't live there. I'm a human rights activist. I do believe in good things and all that, and we need to see better for the world. But, I haven't seen China do anything. I'm unaware of any Chinese hackers. I'm going to say that. I think this Chinese hacker thing is just a fake story that the FBI is putting up as a front because the head of the FBI is in the Republican Party and is part of this group of people, some of whom are Democrats. But it definitely appears that there is an organized group of people infiltrating the United States government right now in a way that they should not be, that constitutes as domestic terrorism. We're seeing really weird stuff. Was it Kentucky they tried to get? I think it was Kentucky. It's in one of my previous videos. I can't remember right now. That's not my focus. One of their politicians tried to pass several laws. A secrecy law to make it so that people could not see what the government was doing. Get rid of child labor restrictions. Get rid of overtime. And get rid of breaks. And that was all in one state, and I'm pretty sure it was in Kentucky. There are very strange things happening right now. I'm paying attention, so I'm able to talk about it. People don't have time to sit down and watch these people all day. And literally just to go through the amount of people that have served in the United States Congress, the amount of seats that have been held in Congress since 2020, you will have to probe 1,800 seats. You know how long that would take one individual to do? And these people only have terms that served 2 years. We got way too many people going through Congress. And Congress has no legal system of accountability. There's the FBI, the Supreme Court, and the Ethics Committee that can hold Congress accountable. That's about it. Enron had around 20,600 employees. That was a historical fraud case. If that scale of fraud can happen through an entity with 20,000 people, I think it would be ridiculous not to believe that it couldn't happen through the United States Congress. This country, through the office and the actions of Congress, has been pillaging the entire planet and forcing entire nations into poverty. And guess what? Its citizens are next on the docket for that. So just to be clear about what I feel I see going on here, is that there are some individuals who are being led by some organizations that have profit in mind. And when campaign finance is such a big deal, you know, the Citizens United case is a huge thing we should be talking about right now. When you can come from anywhere in the world and purchase a politician, then this political system is not serving the people. We see that. And they're threatening our lives. It's not the people who are destroying the world. It is a failure of governance. It is a failure of international governance. And most importantly, it's a failure of governance from the United States government, who is orchestrating all of this criminal activity across the world. The United States is literally attacking the planet and its own citizens. It doesn't get better from here. There has to be a point where we need to realize that something needs to be done about this. And the longer our government fails to do something about it, the more it becomes the responsibility of the people to do something about it. And that is incredibly unfortunate. It doesn't get better from here. What's happening is happening. It is happening. They're threatening our futures and our safety. And they are literally trying to force us into sweatshop conditions and strip us of our workers' rights and shit. That's what's going on. China is already aware that we need to make progress and not be like destroying the environment and stuff. They got their own issues they need to work out. But if you look at the accumulation of billionaires per nation, most of them are in the United States. What's going on with this TikTok ban is the United States is trying to rob China. If there's any money going into ByteDance from TikTok, the United States is trying to rob China. But that's not fair market capitalism. That's not fair. Everybody in other countries should just leave Facebook. You know, we shouldn't be forced to be using American social media so the Americans can spy on everybody in the world. If I want to use a social media platform that comes from a separate country, I should be able to do so. I'm an American. I have freedom of speech, right? Look at the cost of college. It has gone up exponentially since the 80s. Back in the 80s, you would have been able to pay off your college in 14 months. Now it's going to take like 14 years to pay for a college education. As a result, we have a shortage of doctors and other services that are vital to society. Oh, by the way, the government tried to kill me. I almost lost my life getting put on prescription medications when I was a child. Under a government mandate. That's part of why I'm writing, because I'm trying to seek justice on that, and I'm getting oppressed as a female in the United States, and I've had about enough of it because I've been fighting my whole life trying to fix this problem, and I can't earn a fair living. My life is being dictated to me, and I've had about enough of it. So I think we need to stand up, because what's going on right now, people, is not safe for us. This government has been infiltrated by a foreign entity of some form. It is a terrorist threat. I'm not joking. That is literally what is happening. 85% of the population knows that we need to get the dirty money out of politics. The majority of the population, the vast majority of the population is all well aware, regardless of political party affiliation, that these companies need to stop buying politicians. That's what we need to deal with. There's the great issue of our time. It needs to be handled. And it's time to handle that, because it's not going to get better. They think that they're going to follow this classic Chinese economic model, making slaves out of people to serve them. And the problem with that is it's literally killing the planet, and it's not going to last very long because everything's going to die. We're experiencing the largest mass extinction event on the planet Earth since the Cretaceous period. That would be the dinosaurs. So I got work to do. I just need to make sure I voice myself clearly so that other people understand exactly what it is that we're witnessing. The second largest concentration of billionaires is in China. The United States is trying to steal money from China. The whole reason why the world is in chaos and we're experiencing the largest mass extinction event in world history since the Cretaceous period is because of people using the American political system to pillage other countries. You're welcome. I've been interacting with an economist. With all that being said, I'm also going to say that there are plenty of studies and lots of research out there stating that, this environment that they're trying to force us in, first of all, is not good for mental health. Systematic oppression does not help anybody. There are a lot of children who are suffering from having, parents with substance abuse problems and stuff. They turn into adults. The only ones this really benefits is the people who are directly profiting off of this kind of crap. Other than that, it has been shown in the field of psychology that there is practically no difference in the psychology of men versus women. We do think alike. That means that the treatment of women in modern America is a human rights abuse. And that still needs to be handled. Yeah, nature versus nurture. If you're gonna condition little babies into this modality of operating, that's why we have these differences. Other than that, we're all just people on the planet Earth, and I think it's really sad for these dudes that want to minimize on women and cut women down and say all this horrible crap about women and just be hateful monsters and demean us. Because they're never going to have fulfilling relationships. They're not going to know what it's like to actually have a friend by their side because of what's going on in their own head. Their false beliefs about reality that are not true. There's so much suffering being created for no good reason. And it's not creating any positive outcome. The economy actually does better when ethics are applied. When we do things morally and responsibly, the economy actually does better. Is it 1 in 4 people, 1 in 4 Americans get cancer? So yeah, go look up that article, Wearing Out the Watchdog. There's an example of the government not enforcing the law. Whistleblowers were in on that one. And I'd like to encourage anybody working for any government agency, especially through the pandemic, to come forward and speak up and tell the public about what you witnessed during your time at these agencies. How the government's not doing its job. Because we need to flush out the rats that have infiltrated our government, is what we need to do. We need a mass of whistleblowers right now. I think that would really help fix the problem. The government should be regulating business. It should be regulating different things. Here's another thing, okay? The United States population is now over 600 million. It is not the 1700s anymore. We're not people with candles. We're not engaging in things like bloodletting or all this stupid crap that happened when people were not so functional, coming off of boats and crap. This is a whole different world. And there's a significant amount more of people. And so we need a functional system of governance. The fact that we even have politicians standing up giving racist speeches in front of everybody is just absurd. Considering the fact that we have such a multiracial society and the American people is multiracial, so, you know, whatever tiny little corner of the populace you want to try to appeal to in that is not in the country's best interest. We are now an established nation. This is a country now. So, I don't know why you think we're in the 1800s and you're trying to, like, do that kind of stuff. You need to go back to college if that's what you're doing and you're holding office. You're unqualified. But I just want to bring that up to draw attention to the scale and severity of this and why it is that we simply should just not tolerate it. Because this is absolutely unacceptable. There are a lot of people here. And this is not the 1800s. I've studied American history. That is ridiculous. This behavior that we're witnessing out of our politicians is just absolutely ridiculous, and it needs to stop, and there needs to be a probe, and there needs to be arrests, and people need to go to jail. That's how you should be handling a domestic terrorist threat. The president has the powers of the military. Can the president do something about this? Because it is a domestic terrorist threat. These people are attacking the American people. I mean, technically speaking, I'm just saying. So I'm going to get off my rant and I'm going to go to bed. As much as I would love to divulge all of this information and stuff, I need to finish typing my book. I'm going to put it online for free. Because I want people to know what's happening and what happened and what they went through, since our government is literally forcing people out onto the streets by doing things like shutting off Social Security, taking away food stamps from children, turning off disability for people who are in inpatient care even, depriving our veterans of their disability benefits, shutting down the unemployment, holding people in jail with no access to a trial, not reviewing cases, not investigating cases handled to various government divisions regarding criminal activity within business. Sounds like a domestic terrorist threat to me. Is Colorado the only state that's having a policing crisis? Oh, and by the way, this whole thing with all the migrants, yeah, it's Congress was not letting people process their visas, and instead Congress was having people pick people up at the border in a truck and trained foreign nationals that's how to handle the situation, because Congress has defunded the majority of our agencies to make it so that the law is not being enforced. And that needs to be handled too. I think we need accountants handling the budgets and not Congress. Some of these people watching these hearings just seem to be dumber than a post, like the guy from Louisiana. Oh, yeah, we're gonna impeach him, yes we are. That is not how a college-educated politician should be behaving in front of the country. There needs to be some sort of system of rationality used for how we govern ourselves. There is no reason why we should have some children in front of the nation acting a fool in front of everybody. And the idea that they're going to get away with this is just ridiculous. There does need to be a criminal probe. And I think one of the best ways we can kick that off is for a crap ton of whistleblowers to come out of the woodwork. Anybody who worked as a contractor through these government agencies that witnessed strange and abnormal activity through the duration of this pandemic up until now, our government should have been trying to help the country recover from this pandemic, and instead criminals infiltrated our system of governance and attacked the American people and stole billions of dollars. I'm going to bed.